special Board of Selectmen meeting of Tuesday, May 19th, 2015. We will skip the first item and go to item number 2. Catherine Ward is here from the library. Welcome, Catherine.
Hello. Thank you. I am here to ask permission to erect a banner announcing the farmers market on the corner of the triangle in front of the old firehouse for the duration of the summer, which is until the end of September. And I have the banner here. It's actually last year's banner. We'll just be amending the dates on it.
Okay.
Thank you. I know it's a little big.
That's my only question. Was it on the building?
It was on the building last year. This year we'd like to erect it on the ground so it has better visibility.
Will it impact traffic? You know, right, left,
Visibility.
turns? Yeah, that's the only thing that worries me.
Yeah, I think we need to be fairly specific.
People can get out and make a left turn, you know, will it impact?
Well, there's a lot.
I think it's only 3 feet tall, so I don't think it should impact visibility if we put it more to the center of the triangle and not directly on the edge.
Ray, can we ask you to supervise this maybe and see that it doesn't impede
absolutely.
visibility? And
Oh, yeah, I think it could probably be
Good
erected.
timing.
So it's going to face.
So it's not going to, pose on traffic.
Right.
Won't affect the sight line.
Okay, perfect.
The only other thing too is that there is I don't know if they're still there was 2 or 3 of the T signs. I'm assuming most of those are going away if they haven't already. They're kind of getting, I don't know if that would be blocking this. There's a few
Yeah, there's a
other
house.
T signs. We might have to.
The house is
The
house is
Okay.
house is on, all right, so one less.
Okay.
Right.
So,
We would
yeah.
put it far away so
Yeah.
it wouldn't
Don't block
obstruct
any other
anything else.
signs.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like a motion?
yes, please.
I would like to make a motion that we authorize or allow you to put it up with supervision of Ray Stewart. And anything else you need?
Is there a second? Any other questions or discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Our second request today is permission to erect lawn signs on a rotating basis on the places listed on the agenda, and they include at the corner of Beecher Road and Fitzgerald property, on the corner of Meeting House Lane and Center Road, the entrance to the playing fields, Acorn Hill, West River, Pease Road, and the tennis courts, and the transfer station.
What are they?
They would be 27 by 18, and they would just be staked to the ground very low.
They're those corrugated type signs?
Yes.
Like the election signs?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to
I
say.
have no problem with them as long as they don't, impact traffic. I think it's totally fine.
Do you want to make the same?
I'd like to
motion?
make the same
Yes.
motion.
And those
Okay,
would,
just check.
well,
Yeah.
we'll make the motion in this.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Question, so they'll be up for the same duration?
They will be, but they'll be on a rotating basis, so every month we'll change. We plan to have 3 signs, and we'll change the locations of them every month to keep them fresh, so people will see them.
Oh, so they won't be at each location for that duration?
Correct.
They'll be.
And then
So how many signs will there be total?
3
3.
And then they'll come down when.
at the end of
Season's over,
September.
Christmas.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Jerry, I'm going to abstain on this decision.
Okay, thank you.
And for our last item, I just wanted to mention briefly that we're launching our first community read program, Woodbridge Reads One Book, One Town, starting at the beginning of June. And we're encouraging everyone to read Animal, Vegetable, Miracle, and the library is sponsoring various events around this, a book discussion, a cheese-making workshop, a local author who talks about farming in Woodbridge in the early 1920s. So we're encouraging everyone to join in the discussion and participate, and their children's programs as well.
And
Yep.
I missed it, you said the books are available at the library?
They are, yes.
I just bought a copy on Amazon yesterday, $9. Paperback.
You want reimbursement?
We have over 100.
Ellen and I like to keep it, we're gonna read it together.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff is not here, we'll move on to item number 4, Steve. Perfect timing.
Hello, thank you.
Good evening.
So I'm here to ask for the town's permission to install a new irrigation well at the farm. We've applied for cost share funding with the NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, who we've worked with on a number of projects at the farm concerning water and soil conservation. And with our expansion over the last few years into the northern section of the farm, we have an increased demand for water and need to have a well in that area of the farm. And in order for the NRCS to approve of that, they need to see that the town, who owns the land, approves of there being a new well put on the property. So it's as simple as that from their perspective. They want to know that the landowner approves of a new well before they cost share a grant to do it.
So we looked into this, and Chris Sullivan recommends that this go for an 824 review to Town Plan and Zoning. Is there a motion? So moved. Sorry, before you do that, I just want to check one thing. Can we approve this subject to TP&Z approval? So it does not have to come back here, is that right? Okay, so.
Unless they don't approve
they
it
don't-
for some reason.
Well,
it comes
subject
back.
to their approval, so if they
Right.
approve
Right,
it, yes.
right.
it's
Then
done.
it's done. So
Done.
I think if you can make that
I
motion.
will
that
make
we-
that motion.
that
Yes,
we-
that we refer to Town Plan and Zoning for an 824 review, and we will approve it this evening pending their approval.
Fantastic.
I'll second that. And then,
Thank you. Any,
Yeah, I just have, I know that we're just referring it, but in terms of, but we've kind of approved it, so it's a cost sharing.
Yes.
Is the town paying it?
No.
Sharing any of that cost? No.
No, the Massaro Community Farm
Farm,
will
and then
share the
fund
cost.
the other part, yes.
The only other question I have is if I don't know the particular area, but if there's any concern either from TP&Z or from the town, it's not near a wetlands area or
Well, I guess,
where they might have to
I
review
guess
as
they'll
well.
look at
They'll
that.
look at it.
That-
then they'll
TP&Z will
have to
refer it there
That's
as
the
need be.
purpose of
Yeah,
that.
that's, okay, good.
That makes sense.
I do have a proposed location that would be outside of any range to the wetlands, but I'm happy to discuss if TP&Z would like to suggest an alternate location. I'm amenable to that.
good. Okay then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We can now go to item number 3, the Beecher Road School change order. Chair of the building committee.
I was given a range. I'm early for the end range.
We're snapping tonight.
Yes,
Aye, that's good.
we have a lot to get through, so we're just moving along.
That's great. Okay, so we're putting a request in. It's the last part of the security part of the project, which is the cameras inside the building. Everything else we've already approved. It wasn't actually part of the original approval for the security because they didn't actually have the right number of cameras in there, and they didn't do what they were needed to be done. So we left it out, knowing we would come back. It was really important to get started on the other stuff, which they've already started on, and that's it. Everything else is looking good. I was there at a building meeting this morning, which Tony will probably give you a full, highly detailed report. But the good news is they are going up to the state tomorrow for a meeting, and everybody should cross their fingers and assume it's going to go well.
Great. Are there questions for Jeff about the change order?
Only in terms of, so this is coming out of our contingency, right? The
It's-
contingency for the project,
Yes.
yes. And I know we just approved that.
Well, yeah, yes.
Okay. And when we had the last change order for the 314 or whatever, I think we were pretty well assured that that contingency is in pretty good shape, given where the project
It
is.
is.
But
That is
that's
correct.
still the case.
That's still the
and
case,
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. We're still good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, they don't actually like it when I go to those meetings, trust me.
Okay, good.
Is there a motion to approve change order number 2 for the Beecher Road School
So
project?
moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Hope the rest of your meeting goes as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now at item number 5, which is with respect to the New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority, of which Woodbridge is a part, and allowing the town of Stratford to join us, and Jeff Ginsburg is here to explain the proposal.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeff Ginsburg, and I am the Woodbridge representative to the GNH WPCA, which is the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority. And I am the town representative, and I feel sad that I don't know some of you as well as I think I should. I know a lot of you, but I think one of the reasons was because I was appointed to this position back in 2009, when some of you were not on the Board of Selectmen at that time. So when I approached Ellen about a month ago with the idea or thought that the GNH would be interested in accepting Stratford's proposal to regionalize, that I would make myself available and speak about the GNH a little bit, what we've done over the years, and sort of bring you up to date as to what the GNH does. And Ellen asked me to provide some information, so instead of talking it out, I put it in writing as a handout and delivered it earlier today with the hope that you might have the benefit of knowing what the GNH is. So without going into any detail, I'll just tell you that in about 2006, Woodbridge regionalized with the other 3 towns of New Haven, East Haven, and Hamden, largely because we, the town of Woodbridge, wanted to get out of the sewer business, get a nice benefit financially for our infrastructure, and not have to worry about collecting from our ratepayers and paying the town of New Haven, because back then we were paying to have our sewage system taken care of by the town of New Haven. So we in Woodbridge have about 8 miles of sewerage. You all know that here in town, the town hall is supplied, the high school is supplied, the fire station is supplied, and we have a pipe that runs down Center Road to Amity Road, and Amity Road through to New Haven. We have 1 pump station, we have 275 manholes, and the average age of our system is about 70 years old, which is old. So we made a really good choice back then in regionalizing, because really it's taken all of the efforts that we put into our sewage system and worrying about complying with the DEP and the EPA out of our hands and in with a very professional group that takes its job seriously. Sid Holbrook is the executive director. I serve with other members of the boards from the other 3 towns, and there are 9 of us all together, and a majority vote determines what happens. And what we do is not unlike what you do here at your board. We have projects that come before us that we have to vote on. We have the DEP giving us projects that we have to take care of in order to protect the environment, make sure that the sewage system gets taken care of. We have certain EPA requirements that we have to comply with, which includes separating the stormwater and the sewage system. And I don't know if you know this, but New Haven back in the 1800s was a combined sewer system, and now we're busy trying to separate that sewer system. We're about 90% complete with doing that since we started in 2006, which is a major accomplishment. It's a very interesting experience being with this group, because when I'm there, I feel like, number one, I'm the only lawyer, so I'm an outsider right there. I'm the only lawyer in the whole group with a bunch of, contractors and engineers. But 2, they all speak in a foreign language. And it took a bit of time to learn the language, and I don't think I can speak it conversationally, but when I listen to it and I hear it when everybody is speaking, I understand what they're saying. we have to approve union contracts, we have to approve consumer problems, we have to deal with our infrastructure, and usually our meetings last about 3 hours once a month. So, to make a long story short, the town of Stratford approached us a year ago and said we would like to join for a number of reasons, one of which was we'd like to get out of the sewers business. And so we weren't the ones that were asking Stratford. Stratford was the ones that approached us. We, didn't really have a need to take on the additional work unless it was going to be some benefit to the GNH. And what we've decided, and this is after a year of debating it, that the GNH would benefit in a number of different ways, one of which would be benefiting from the economy of scale. There's a lot of cost efficiencies in having Stratford join us. We believe that having a bigger organization will improve our bond rating. And financially, it's going to benefit us because we will be getting annual administration payments of about $500,000 a year to help with our administration internally. None of the Stratford waste is going to be treated in New Haven. Stratford is a self-contained unit. They have their own waste treatment plant. None of their waste is going to impede and regress our own sewage treatment program in New Haven. And the rate structure will, because of the additional income that the GNH will receive, will probably increase less over the period of time. We have about 900 customers here in Woodbridge. And I would say that the average rate per customer is around $350 to $400. And in the 7 or 8 years that I've been involved, I've never had one complaint about rates from any of our Woodbridge customers. We've had 2 overflows. The GNH got right out, took care of it. One case, we had one person that lost a refrigerator. We replaced it. We have good relations with everyone. And our meetings are largely like this, unattended by the other members of the community, even though all of our meetings are open. We have a website, so if you ever want to see what goes on in our meetings, you can go on the website. It's a very upscale website. All of our minutes are on the website. All of our discussions and votes are on the website. And a lot of the contracts that we have to approve are on the website. So I'm here to advise the town that it would be a very good idea for the town to approve the GNH acquiring the town of Stratford's assets. All the other constituent towns in the GNH have already approved it. It just so happens that in the sequence of time we're the last, but that's just a fact of the timing and sequencing. And in order for Stratford to become a member, a constituent member, all of towns under our compact must approve it. So I'm hoping that you will approve it and make it part of the GNH. And I'm here to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion in keeping with the advice of Attorney Ginsburg that we approve Stratford into the GNH WPCA.
Thank you. And can you add to that you adopt the resolution? And I think we need to read the exact, we have to read the language.
Right there.
To adopt the resolution as follows. Resolved that the concurrent ordinance adding the town of Stratford as a constituent municipality of the Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority is hereby adopted and approved by the Woodbridge Board of Selectmen, acting as the legislative body of said town, subject to and conditioned upon the adoption thereof by each constituent municipality of the authority. Further resolved that First Selectman Ellen Skalatar is hereby authorized to sign all agreements and documents as required in order to effectuate this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
I have one question. It's not 100% related. You have 900 customers. Is that what I heard you say roughly?
Right.
Has there ever been talk, or in recent years, about any expansion of the sewer line anywhere else in town?
There has not.
Is that something you think might come up in the future? Is that just not feasible?
I don't think it's a question of feasibility. I just don't think it's a need. If some people felt that they would be better served by having sewers or tapping into the sewer lines, there's a procedure for that, and they can make application.
So they can make individual applications if they are having problems and think they,
Absolutely.
Any other
I'd just like to say,
questions?
I've had several discussions with Robinson Cole about this agreement and also the bylaws that are being changed of G&H as a result of adding Stratford. The document that you're approving today is entitled Concurrent Ordinance, and just want to make it clear, it's not going to be an ordinance of the town of Woodbridge. It is an ordinance for the district. for the
Right,
village.
it's an ordinance of the quasi-administrative agency,
Right.
which is the G&H.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Jeff, thank you very much.
All right,
thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
We are now up to the grant, the JAG grant. And Deputy Chief Ray Stewart is here to explain it. Yes.
Yes, it's a justice assistant grant that I applied for several months ago for specifically body cameras to be worn by the police officers. The grant's value is $22,000. The whole $22,000 will go through to the purchase and setup of the cameras. This is actually the cameras that the officers will wear. We've been lent this by Digital Ally. Digital Ally is the same company that provides us with our in-the-car video cameras. And one of the reasons that we went with this product was that it would integrate as far as storage goes and compatibility between, at one point, we're actually going to be able to coordinate both the on-body camera and the car video camera. The grant was approved by OPM. And the next process in that is that it has to be signed by the town as well as and accepted by the first selectman.
Will this grant provide body cameras for all of the officers?
20 officers. We were only
Okay.
able to provide it for 20. There's only actually 18 officers if we were full staff that would be wearing them. So we would actually have, 2 spares. The intention of the department would be right up to the chief. And that's the intention of most departments that are going to a body camera. Because especially in a small town like this, where the chief or the deputy chief or even the lieutenant would be involved in an incident with the public, where as part of our policy, if it was to be turned on, the capability would be there. I mean, I'm out in uniform, I go to a lot of the calls and everything, and if I got involved in it, we would want the question to come up, why didn't I have the camera on? So
Certainly
that's where our
very
intent
timely.
is, but we just don't have the money right now.
And the 22 covers the 18?
It'll cover those 18 officers.
And-
All the officers that are actually in patrol, all the officers that go out into a patrol car that is capable of having a video camera in the car, that officer will have a video camera on him.
Right, just to follow up with that, so obviously the officers in the dispatch and what have you in the station, we do have cameras at least in place for the dispatch, is that true, or do we not?
Right outside,
In other
not
words, if
right.
someone were to come into the front of the building right now,
Yes, we
what
do.
we call the front of the building, there are cameras
Oh,
in
there's
place to-
surveillance cameras, as well in this building too.
This is body cameras, and I think it's very timely that you're doing this, given all the news and events, and I commend
Oh,
you for
absolutely.
doing this.
We are a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
A
that's
little
great.
ahead of the curve, but all the magazines are coming out with
And
articles about
I
it.
understand that these are body cameras. My point being, if body cameras, if the only officers not using them are basically in-house, then as long as there are other cameras as well, in essence, they're wearing
They're
body
not
cameras.
taking
and
anything
cameras
away
with them.
from what's
Okay.
in
So
the station.
everybody's, basically, we're covering most officers. And at one point, would you apply for additional? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. They're more than likely, not through this particular grant process, but I would imagine in the very near future, we're going to see more money coming down specifically for body cameras. This particular grant was a grant for public safety use. I mean, I could use it for a lot of different things, but this seemed to be the most
Can I ask-
appropriate at the
That's
time.
Sure.
I have a quick question, not too technical, but what activates these? I mean, they're just when they step out, or is it just a?
No, it's just a little button on the
No,
side
no,
of it.
no, but I mean, is it
This actually
automatically
gets
running,
warm.
or do they have to
They just
self-activate
have to
it?
push the button on the side of this unit right here.
Okay, so- and can they turn it
This
off if they
vibrates and lets
choose?
them know that it's working.
Once it's started, they can turn it off?
They can turn it off, correct.
Okay.
There will be a specific policy that the town attorney will be
That was
reviewing
my
in
next
the very near
follow-up
future.
question, right.
This whole program has to be put in place by December of this year, so, I mean, we're hopefully have the grant approved. It will go to OPM.
Okay,
Sometime next month, we'll start implementing the whole process.
thanks.
So,
Who monitors?
Pardon?
Who monitors what's being found on the camera, and how long is it saved? Is that
It will have this, it will have the same
Regulated.
storage and, the time limit that we keep it as the video cameras that are in the cars. After 30 days, it's, unless it's been tagged as being evidence or to be kept in evidence, it would be expunged at the end of the 30 days. And that's what we do with that. It was that, just so you know, that was one of the questions that came up as far as drawing up a policy and everything, and how you were going to store it. And this gets downloaded each day when an officer comes in. It might not, because it's so vast. I mean, it's going to hold possibly a whole 8 hours of a shift in some cases, depending on the incident. They won't get viewed. You know, a lot of times these will not get viewed. We have a policy right now with our video cameras that they periodically do get viewed. There's a procedure that the sergeants have to come in. They don't view every single call, but there's a quality control associated with it.
So would a motion be appropriate now to, I'll make a motion that is it that we're approving the grant, and then the resolution needs to be part of the motion that First Selectman is authorized to accept and execute on behalf of the town the 2015 OPM 2015 JAG Violent Crime Prevention Grant Award in the amount of $22,000.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other
I actually have
questions?
a question for Chair. There's 41 special conditions to this, and it's entitled 215 JAG Violent Crime Prevention. And I'm all for these cameras, and Deputy Stewart said he could, Deputy Chief, I'm sorry, said that he could use this for many things. I just want to make sure that, you know, the use for the camera, I presume we told them what we were going to do when you applied for the grant, right? You told them that was for the.
Well, the whole grant has to be approved as far as, I have to give explanation what I want.
Okay.
I had to
the
tell them it
grant.
was cameras.
Okay.
I have to give them, I had to get a quote from the company. They have to have a quote from the company and everything, so it's
Okay, I
all
just
laid
wanted to
out.
be sure, 'cause
They know exactly, right down to the dime where the money's going.
You know, they use these things.
A catch-all umbrella, there's a lot of
Right.
things you can.
Okay, which is fine, but then when I see 41 conditions, and I wasn't gonna read them all, so I don't know if you did as town, but I just wanted to be sure.
did not.
Okay.
I think Ray
Can I
did
just
that.
add one other thing?
Ray read
Can I
all.
just want to
Yes,
add one
please.
other thing? And you know, there was other things that we could have done with this and everything like that, but we were already in the works of looking to see about the body cameras. I had already instructed the lieutenant to do a lot of research. And when I said December 30th of this year is the deadline, that was for any projects that he went into. So whatever project I requested, I had to have it done within that particular time limit. So that was one of the reasons that we went with the body cameras, knowing that we could abide by that time limit.
Good. Anything else?
I have a question. Chief, are there any labor concerns with officers wearing these?
Not at this time. The officers are pretty, they want them.
Council has
I don't think it's going to be an issue.
the contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good one.
The next item is approval.
Services?
I'm sorry?
Oh, new services.
The steep grant, yeah.
Yeah,
This is to allow us to accept the steep grant for improvements at the old firehouse. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution that we have before us.
So moved.
we have to read.
Oh,
I think we should read it, yeah.
Okay, should
Yeah.
would you like me to
Yes,
see this?
please.
Okay. Resolved that First Selectman Ellen Skeletor be and hereby is authorized to accept on behalf of the town of Woodbridge a 2015 Connecticut State Grant in the amount of $500,000 for the conversion of former Woodbridge Fire Department headquarters into a community and recreational space, and further resolved that First Selectman Ellen Skeletor is hereby authorized to enter into and execute any and all agreements, contracts, and documents necessary to obtain said 2015 steep grant with the state of Connecticut.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions about this?
I did. Did we approve the project? I mean, I know we've talked about this center and all, and I'm confused about
Where we are.
about what's approved, has been approved, and hasn't been approved, and so.
Right.
That's my first question, because the certification on this says it's been approved. That was my concern. There's a certification that we sign on this grant saying this project has been approved, and I don't know that it has been. So that was my main concern.
Well, the application and the uses for which this will be applied, I believe, have been approved because it's for infrastructure improvements. It's not for anything specific. We will be using it for the boiler, for
Insulation,
Yeah.
An elevator, things of that nature. And you're not committing
not the
to,
use itself.
no, the intent on the use is for a community and
Right.
recreational space. But the actual work is not specific. In other words, you're not committing to actually doing specific things. Rather, you are committing to improvements that Ellen has mentioned.
So that if we don't ultimately approve the recreation, and I forget all the language, but if we don't approve that, we can still use that money to do the boilers and all that?
Well, I think the general intent is that it's used as a community resource. You can't, my guess is you're not going to be able to put the improvements in and then lease it to a private party for, or something drastic like that. The intent is for it to be used as a community space, whatever that is.
Didn't we have to do the
Community
elevator no
gathering
matter
place.
what?
So
Well,
if
that's, and the
you're
boiler.
going to use it
and
as
the
a
heating
community
system.
building, you have to do the
Whatever we decide
elevator.
ultimately for use.
You'd have to do a furnace, you'd have to
Yeah.
do the insulation, just stuff, stuff like that.
Anything else? If not, did we have a second? We did. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Next grant is the Youth Services Grant. Nancy, do you want to speak to that?
Basically, this is the grant that we apply for every other year. So it's a 2-year grant. It's for $14,000. It's been the same amount as long as I can remember.
Since I've been here, it's been the same.
That's forever.
It seems it, right? So we would just need an approval to apply for it and have Ellen sign off on it. You would sign the statement of assurances and then also sign that we have an affirmative action plan on file with the state. And basically, the money is used towards my salary. That's, put that in every year, and we are required to match that, the $14,000 each year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign the required documents for the 2015-17 $14,000 youth services grant?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other questions, discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Nancy.
Jerry, I'll abstain.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. It's not 7 o'clock, so we'll move on to the Neighborhood Assistance Act applications. Tony, do you want to give us a brief summary of this program?
Sure, actually, there was some information handed out, but it's essentially, the Neighborhood Assistance Act is a tax credit program that's designed to provide funding for municipal and tax-exempt organizations by providing a corporation business tax credit for businesses who make cash contributions to those entities. So that's essentially what the program is, and the town serves as a conduit for the applications, for the advertising, gathering them, and then we send all the information up to the state OPM, and that's pretty much the last we see of it, right, Jerry? They make the awards, they decide which applications are appropriate and which aren't, and we've received 2, right? Those are the 2 we've received?
No.
From the teen center, which is lighting and HVAC renovations and energy efficient siding and windows. There's no town funds involved in this program. We don't have any involvement in the funding.
So do we need a motion to receive the applications and schedule the hearing?
And set the public hearing.
Okay. Is there a motion to receive the applications and schedule the public hearing for June 10th, 2015? Thank you.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're moving ahead quite well.
It's a jinx.
Tony, I think we're going to
Yep.
okay?
Yeah, because there's really till Joe
We'll-
finally gets here.
Yeah, I think for items 9 through 12, we're waiting for others to arrive, so we'll move on to item number 12.
Oh, you wanna wait for
Oh, I'm
Joe?
sorry, item number 13.
13,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Killing me.
Okay, thank you. The, let's get the bottom, do I need the bottom? Can you hear me talk if I don't talk? The monthly report for is through April 2015, and the result is a budgetary surplus of $337,000. Keep in mind, the budget has a contribution from fund balance of $400,000, so in actual cash terms, at the end of the year, it would be a cash deficit of the difference there, which is 63. So just so that I wanted to make that clear. But in terms of the budget, it's a surplus of $337,000. So department charges are projected close to budget. We are surpluses in golf fees, zoning permits, and transfer station fees. However, we have not been collecting the conveyance taxes we thought we would, that I thought we would, so there's a shortfall in that account particularly. So in sum, the department charges are pretty much close to budget, pretty much even. Interest income is running below our projections and should have a shortfall of about $25,000. And other financing sources, which is essentially revenues from private duty, has experienced a surplus of about $70,000. There's been some increased activity, and we've increased some fees to account for that increased costs that we have. That's essentially a pass-through where we collect revenues for private duty to offset our expenditures that we incur as a result of private duty, namely payroll taxes, workers' comp charges, and pension charges. So we essentially charge, and then we receive the revenue to offset those expenditures.
And that's all police department?
All police department, right?
And that must fluctuate constantly.
Yeah, it fluctuates constantly based on the activity that's necessary out, and when you see a police officer on the road. We also charge for a car. If they're using a car, we have a fee for that. So, in the police department itself, we have a shortfall in overtime. As you can imagine, we have a shortage in personnel, but there is a surplus in wages, and that'll probably result in an overall surplus of about $40,000 in the police department. So, waste management is a projected surplus of bulky waste mostly, and some recycling, about $45,000. The library, mainly due to staffing vacancies, primarily the director's position, is projected to experience a surplus of about $40,000. Employee benefits, again, surplus of about $40,000. That's down from earlier in the year, as we had some increased costs due to the snow activity, and so that's a $40,000 surplus there. And finally, the Woodbridge Board of Education is reporting a surplus this year of about $50,000. So those are our highlights. Are there any questions?
Do we know what the Woodbridge Board of Education surplus is, where it's coming from, or what the?
We do. Dr. Stella didn't come, he would be able to highlight that, but I can get that for you for your next meeting.
Just wondering what
Yeah.
that number's representing.
Okay, funding requests?
Yeah, there's tax funds. Isn't that right?
Yes. There's a request.
Oh, funding requests, I'm sorry, yeah.
Request.
There's two. Yeah. There are two.
Oh, I
No, I'm
see,
sorry,
yes.
three. There are three. First is 1415-23. That's for $4,600. That's from the fire chief and from the fire department. And it's a line item transfer within their budget to account for, mostly for a machine to help clear snow from hydrants during the winter and increased frequency of dumpster pickups. Just as a note, the winter storm in January has been declared or approved for FEMA reimbursement. So,
That's great.
yeah, and we just received a notice on that, so we're sending someone to a meeting shortly to find out what the parameters are for that, and so hopefully we'll get some of these funds returned to us.
This came up at the fire commission meeting, and just to add to it, the storms were just every other day.
Right.
And they have to shovel out the hydrants, and the
Right.
problem was there's not enough,
If the
these
snow
are
volume,
volunteers.
if the
and-
snow volume is not as light, the volunteers do it. right?
Correct, but
Because
this
it
was
so
just
heavy.
bam, we
Yeah.
were getting bam, every other day, and it was so cold, and they just couldn't, it was ridiculous, so.
Are the trash pickups related to seasonality or anything? I mean, I'm just wondering what the additional...
I think they increased the dumpster pickups because of some of the comments about some of the trash that was collecting in the back.
During inland wetlands was
Oh,
upset about
getting
the
out.
animals
Oh,
dragging.
that's
in.
related to
That's
that. Okay,
correct,
so there was a
yeah.
specific purpose to
Correct.
that point.
I think.
That's not going to be an
Oh,
ongoing...
Sean's here now if there's,
Oh,
sorry.
That's
Is
okay.
there-
I just wanted to know if it was specific.
I'm answering your question, sorry. I hope I did okay.
Is there a motion to approve line item transfer 141523 in the amount of $4,600?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
That's okay, Sean.
Thanks.
We got you. I got your back. I had your back.
The next is funding request 1415-24.
This is our final transfer for sand salt materials for public works, and this was due to our extended winter. And so, as we recalled last meeting, we had 21 ice or snow events that we experienced.
Is there a motion?
Oh, no, I can ask you that.
Okay, a motion to approve funding request number 1415-24 in the amount of $14,000.
So moved.
Second.
So, yeah, just quick. So it reads as if we had those 21, and understandably, and then we placed an order.
The order was on
More,
back order.
And then it was on back order. Then we
Correct.
covered that order somewhere else,
Right.
and then
It got delivered.
we couldn't have canceled, we
couldn't.
kept that order.
Yeah, because we had
Which-
already committed to it, and we
Okay.
had done the paperwork for that order.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then, so, but we can, that doesn't have a shelf life, right? We can.
No,
use
it'll
that
be used next year,
Okay.
correct.
We have the proper storage for
Yeah.
it.
I don't know.
We used the salt shed.
Salt
as
shed?
we said, it'll be
Just
used.
wanted to be sure.
Yeah, no, but and I think we have a storage
Correct.
facility for it, because I know it has to be properly stored. so it doesn't
Correct.
get
It's a salt sand shed. I've never seen it inside, don't care to, but.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And next is line item transfer number 1415-25 in the amount of $9,470. I'll make a motion that we approve this transfer.
Second.
Questions, Tony? Tony will speak to it.
No, this is just because of
Yeah,
timing.
yeah.
There was money in the budget to do this work in the Senior Center Lounge, but because of timing, we didn't have a chance to do that. So the funds don't lapse, and the request is to transfer it to a capital account so we can do it over the summer.
Any questions? Joe?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Now, at the tax refunds. The tax collector has recommended a refund of property taxes in the amount of $11,267.46. Is there a motion to approve this
So
refund?
moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And next, we are at the bid award.
Okay.
First is the refuse container hauling.
Yep, we went out for refuse container hauling, and this is essentially to, from the transfer station to either Bridgeport, Resco, or to a recycling facility to transfer to haul the waste from the transfer station. The low bid this year was Trash Master, and we've used them in the past, but not recently, and they've come with very good recommendations, so we'd like to award for the first year, and then possibly years 2 and 3, but we'd like to see how they perform. The past few years, we've used John's.
So you say they're lowest bidder, but if I add the 3 years up, they're not the lowest.
Right, that's right.
But my question was, because did Trash Master include the disposal rate for demolition and John's did not? Or
No,
if you add them up, they're still not the low bidder?
You mean Trash Master?
Yeah, Trash
Yeah.
Master.
Most likely, we'll probably go out for the first year, but not sure about,
Okay, so when you say lowest bidder, just the first year?
First year, yeah.
Any other questions for Tony? Is there a motion to approve bid 2015-05 and award it to Trash Master LLC for a period of 1 year?
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the contract with the auditor, McGladrey.
Okay.
Can you speak to that, Tony?
As part of our, every year, the Board of Finance is the organization or the body that appoints the auditor. And so last night, they appointed the auditor, McGladrey and Pullen, which is our existing auditor, and they've appointed them as our auditor. But every few years, every 4 years or so, we do go out to bid for auditing. And we did that this year, and we received 3 bids. And there's a schedule attached. And we felt based on their experience and their history in Woodbridge and their the number of clients that they serve and the CAFRs that they do, which is the expanded report, that McGladrey was the pick for our auditors this year. You can see the bids are very close to each other. It's a 4-year bid. And last night, the Board of Finance recommended a 2-year bid and then to review it at the end of 2 years.
Any questions? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contract with McGladrey as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, Tony is going to give us an update on the Pease Place playground.
Okay. I shall have a handout for this.
Say that fast.
So what I'm handing out here is, the last meeting you requested a complete accounting of the expenses. So I have enough copies.
He needs to share, please share.
No, I think I'm good. I also have a little visual here. Okay. So there are 2 budgets here for your review. The first is the town. And the town budget and the town expenses are essentially the playground installation itself and the site work. And you can see that the total expenditures on behalf of the town is $248,608, of which $200,000 was grant funds from the state of Connecticut. So you can see that all of the other expenditures here are related to either site work or labor related to site work or materials. And that was the extent of the town involvement in the playground. The second sheet which I received just recently from Pease Place, are all of the revenues and expenditures that they have, revenues they've collected and expenditures they've had for the playground. And so you can see the donations are on the top, and then you can see the various items, including the basketball court, some benches, sidewalk installation. There's a variety of things there, but it gives you a good idea of what was expended on behalf of the Pease Place project. So you can see, if you add the two together, it's approximately $330,000, roughly, and of which 48 was from the town and the remainder from other sources. Hopefully that gives you a complete picture of exactly what was spent, who contributed what, and what was used for each.
No, that's pretty comprehensive. I guess, did we have a budget for this before we?
We had to do transfers and funding requests as we went along, so we did a series of 2 or 3 of those to cover these.
So we didn't really have like a budget. And
Correct.
here's
The
what we
confusion
have.
was the site work and who's responsible for the
Yeah,
site
because
work.
I was kind of thinking,
That was
one
the-
time I remember it was 200 and it was grant
Correct.
funds.
That's right.
And then it's grown to.
You're
to
correct.
this. Okay.
And the confusion was related to the site work.
And we did have periodic updates about what was
Yeah,
happening as it was
Right.
unfolding.
We thought the site work was in
I
there.
remember that.
And to the point of the periodic updates, my one left, or one of the concerns I have, but there was talk, both at Recreation when I was there, and then there was some talk here when Bob Hill came. Colleen and Klima had mentioned originally there was going to be a safety net put up behind the basket. If you notice on your visual, one of the baskets abuts the playground. And
Right.
the fear is that someone throws a long pass or shoots an errant shot,
I
and
believe
that
there is.
basketball hits them. And so there was originally, according to Colleen,
I think
a
there still
small,
is.
it's
I
almost
think
a
there still is.
V-shaped net.
I think there
Okay, I
still
don't
is.
see it
It's not
the-
on the drawing, but I think it's called.
And I didn't see it in the cost
Was
of
it the
expenses.
No, the lacrosse
That was
safety netting is.
That's
over here.
the bigger one, yeah. This is one that's gonna be between that actual basket.
We actually talked about that yesterday, I think it was, and she said they were doing that, but I wonder if it's included in the basketball court.
Oh,
I can clear-
under expenses, if
Yeah.
it's just under the basketball court as a
Yeah.
whole, I don't know. I was just wondering if we had, I know that it was a concern
Called
of
a
rec, that
rebound net
there
or
be
something.
something
Yeah.
Yeah,
that separate, just a net of some type that would,
that's my understanding, that that's still being done.
okay.
Any other questions about the budget?
Are we completed?
Uh,
I believe it's-
Well, the grand opening is scheduled for May 30th,
Yeah, 30th.
May 30th, and it's past inspection.
Yep,
The playground
that's a good
is
point.
past
Pass
inspection.
the playground inspection.
If it's not totally completed and ready, it's very,
Pretty
very
darn close,
Very
right?
close.
So we shouldn't expect any more expenditures
No.
from our budget?
We won't, I'll tell
Okay.
you that much.
Well, you were quick to answer that.
No more change?
You want me to go through
Yes,
that?
I think
Yeah.
there was a
Some confusion
question
about the
raised
basketball
about
court?
basketball court, and I think.
I wanted to clear
just-
that up too.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
So, originally, when the
because, yeah.
court was, when the plan was presented, it was always intended, as far as I can gather, and from some of the drawings, to be two hoops. When it was originally designed here and staked out, it was 47 by 50, which is 2,350 square feet. But the actual turned out to be 60 by 50, which is an extra 13 feet on the end. And it had to do with the fact that it was not long enough to accommodate 2 hoops. And so it was, I think, probably not done accurately on here. And so as a result, when it was staked, it wasn't staked long enough. And that's why the 13 feet was added.
Okay.
That's my understanding of what happened. So last time you saw it, it was 13 feet was added in the field when they were doing the installation.
Do you think we need to do a motion to approve it as built? I think we should, just to be sure. I'll make the motion that we approve the playground with the modification to the basketball court as described by Tony.
Can- can- oh.
Question, Joe?
No, I was just gonna add to Tony's point that this is final and we don't expect, I mean, it's approved and no more expenditures by the town.
We don't
I'm just-
expect
I don't
that, eh?
anticipate any.
Okay, but I don't know that we
Nothing's
expect
ever
it.
final. Ever.
You know, I think in this job, we never say never.
That's what I just said, nothing's ever final.
Well, I just tried to, but I guess we're not going.
Based on what we know today,
And
it
actually,
is.
to that point, I would be interested in knowing if there isn't a net, because again, in the picture it doesn't show, and I can't read it in the budget, that we would have the conversation about possibly installing a net of protection between that basketball hoop.
So that would
Because it
part
may
of
be
the-
in there, but I can't see it, and it doesn't show, it doesn't specifically mention it in the budget.
There may be some de minimis type expenditures from now and again, you know, shrub here, or but nothing significant to add.
But approving it with that safety net, I think makes sense,
Yeah.
because it's not shown on.
Was the
Okay.
net in the original plan that we approved?
Okay.
No, I
I
think
don't
it
think
was
so.
part
So
of.
when she brought it back to recreation, she talked about, she actually had diagrams of the type of net it would be, and then there was some talk about was it appropriate, because the recreation wanted to see a net as well, because again, a long pass and errant shot. And I don't know where it went from there.
How about if I work with recreation to develop
Perfect.
a net?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the basketball court as built, and Tony will go back to recreation and make sure appropriate netting is in place.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the motion is made and seconded?
Second. If not, I'll make it and. you want to
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay.
Whatever.
Any other
Okay.
questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just give you the last one.
Yes, oh, please, go ahead.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is just a quick, sort of an FYI. The state is sponsoring a project called the Gigabit Project, which is to develop high-speed internet and fiber connections to, the goal is high-speed internet and fiber connection to every household in the state. And that would essentially be up to a gigabit speed, which is a lot faster than we have currently under cable. And I just wanted to let you know that they're looking to develop a plan to do that and a plan to fund it. And we have expressed at least some interest. At this point, doesn't involve any town funds, but just an interest in pursuing that to develop additional internet speeds.
Did you describe how fast it gets?
Yeah, it's
Remember that?
up to
Oh.
1,000.
Yeah.
The gigabit is 1,000 megabits per second,
Very fast.
which is a lot faster than we have now. Yeah.